Alohu. Shadala Henwale Botenu. Abiamami is Kawabiako. Takwados, Shemeka Quados, Baru Shemeka Lola. With Shamu Bene Shab, Shabbat, last whole Shabbat, the door of time of the Olam. Beni Bene Otinola. Kisha Shekwi Masada, Shadara Shamayim. Where Taharet Mayo must be Shabbat by not flash. Baru Shemeka, Baru Lemineka, Baru Tulateka, Baru Kudushateka, El Shaddai Malek, El Shaddai Malak, El Shaddai Himlok Lolam Mahe, Baru Shem Kabor Makuto Lolam Mahe, Baru Kabor Lohi Min Kumo Malek Elyon, Alu Lolam Mahe. First of all, I'd like to give more honor and praise to the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, the great, mighty, revered God, the Most High God, who bestows his loving kindness and possesses all things, who remembers the pious deeds of the patriarchs, the Most High, slow of anger, great in kindness, forgiving iniquity and transgression, who by no means clear the guilty, visiting iniquities of fathers upon children to the third and fourth generation. The Most High's work is perfect for all his ways of justice, a God of faithfulness and without iniquity, just and right and see. You make you see. Giving due respect and honor to a head in Israel, my father, Chief Eliezer, to the chief men, princes, brothers and sisters, I say unto the tongue of my forefathers. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We're going to rise and recite the Constitution. Vayidaber Elohim. Et Kal HaDevarim. Ha'aleh Lemor. Anoki El Shaddai Eloheka. Asher Hosetika. Mi Eretz Mitzrayim. Mi Beit Abadim. Lo Yihye Leka. Elohim Akarim. Al Panai. Lo Taseh Leka. Vesel. Wekal Temuna. Asher Bashamayim. Mima'al. Asher Ba'aretz. Mitachat. Asher Ba'mayim. Mitachat La'aretz. Lo Tistakawe Lahem. V'lo Ta'avdem. Ki Anoki El Shaddai Eloheka. El Kwanat. Pokweraon. Abot. Albanim. Al Shileshim. Ve'al Libeim. Lesonai. Ve'oseh Kesed. La'alafim. Le'ohabai. Ul Shomrei. Miksotai. Lo Tisa. Et Shem. El Shaddai Eloheka. Lashau. Kilo. Dinakwe. El Shaddai. Et Asher. Yisa. Et Shemo. Lashau. Sakoret Yom HaShabbat. Lekwarsho. Sheshet Yamim. Ta'abod. Ve'asita. Kal Melakteka. V'yom Hashbi'i. Shabbat La El Shaddai. Eloheka. Lo Ta'aseh Kal Malaka. Ata. Ubinka. Ubiteka. Abdeka. Wa'amaka. Upemteka. Wegirka. Asher Bishareka. Kisheshet Yamim. Asa El Shaddai. Et Hashamayim. Ve'et Haaretz. Et Hayam. Ve'et Kal. Asher Bam. Vayanak Bayom. Hashbi'i. Al Ken Berak. El Shaddai. Et Yom HaShabbat. Vayikwar Shehu. Kabed Et Abika. Ve'imeka. Lema'an Ya'arikum. Yameka. Al-Hadama. Asher El Shaddai Eloheka. Loting Lak. Lotil Zak. Loting Af. Lotigno. Lo Ta'aneh.
Lo tahane.
Bereaka el shakwe.
Bereaka et shakwe.
Lo takmo.
Lo takmo.
Beit le'eka.
Beit le'eka.
Lo takmo.
Lo takmo.
Et shek le'eka.
Et shek le'eka.
Wa abdo.
Wa abdo.
Wa amato.
Wa amato.
We shoro.
We shoro.
We kamoro.
We kamaro.
We kol asher.
We kol asher.
Le'eka.
Le'eka.
Make me see. That is the Hebrew, that is the constitution of the nation of Israel. And we don't pledge no allegiance to no flag. We don't pledge allegiance to flags. We don't pledge no allegiance to nothing else but to God and His laws and His commandments and His statutes. Reading the laws and the commandments with the determination and the purpose to change your ways according to God's ways, according to His laws, according to His commandments. Training yourself to be according to the way God wants us to be, so that we can be accepted by God. God is not going to accept us any old how. I don't know why Israel don't get this through their head, but God is not going to accept you the way you walk, the way you are. God is not going to accept us the way we are today. We, as a people, as a nation, as a people that had claimed the heritage of God, must change. We must acknowledge our fault before God, begin to make preparations, begin to make the corrections, the necessary corrections within ourselves. Okay? Because we have a problem acknowledging our fault. We have a problem telling ourselves that we are wrong. Why? Because we are in the heights. We are at the heights of our pride. We are at the heights of our pride. We're going to go into Deuteronomy 24.
Roll on. Take time.
Deuteronomy chapter 24. When you get it, read it.
Deuteronomy chapter 24.
You got it?
A man had taken a wife.
Okay, when a man has taken a wife. Huh? When a man has taken a wife. I didn't read nowhere in the book where we had ceremonies. I didn't read nowhere in this book where we had ceremonies. So ask me, why do we have ceremonies? Ask ourselves, do we think God accept us having marriage ceremonies if Israel never had it? See, we make this way of life very hard and difficult.
That's right.
We make it complicated.
That's right.
God didn't complicate the laws.
That's right.
God didn't complicate the ways of God. All God did was preserve a book for us to read. A standard. For us to read and follow according to what we read.
That's right.
But Israelites read the book and they add on their opinions. They add on what they think.
Right.
They add on how we feel. How I feel don't count when we're dealing with God's laws. It's according to what you read. You have to ask yourself, did you read that there? Then you answer yourself, no, I didn't read that there. So why am I moving this way? Why am I thinking this way? Those are things that we have to acknowledge with ourselves. We have to ask ourselves these things. Why am I thinking this way? Because these things are not in the book. When a man got a wife, it's either he took his wife or a father would give his daughter to a man. The only papers we had was divorce papers. That's the only papers we have. According to the laws and the commandments of God and the ways of God, all we had was divorce papers. Today now, we go and we marry the woman according when we get papers to validate it, because we're in a different government. But I can't even say validated because in the eyes of God it's already validated. But according to the government, this is why we do it, and to set the sister up or the woman up so that just in case If I happen to croak or die, she is set up. She have a way of taking care of herself. She have a way of paying her bills. She have a way, legal backing. Legal backing. Right now, I'm trying to set up a business. And we set up our own business, and then you put your wife and your children so that when you go, the children and the wives and that you have are set up in life.
That's right.
Because you have to think. This is how we have to think, man. Okay, so if a man do what?
When a man had taken
When a
a
man
wife
has taken a wife
and married her.
and married her. You know what's the Hebrew word for married? Allah. Okay? You know what that means? It means to become her husband. It means to become her Lord. It means to become her possessor. Anything you possess, you take care of. So if I'm not taking care of my possession, then it don't belong to you. It shouldn't be yours. We look for wives, but we don't have the means to take care of a wife. We don't have the house to put the wife in. We don't have food to feed the woman. No resource of taking care of a woman, and we have Israelites looking around, looking at women, looking at sisters, hawking the sisters, talking about, I need a wife. No, you need to find you a job, and not just any old job. You need to find you a job with some benefits, with some health benefits, medical benefits, so that you are able to put your wife and your children on these benefits. But Israelite men don't think this way. We don't think this way. Our mentality is not, we have a heathenistic mentality, man. And with that type of mentality, we cannot serve God. And God will not accept us with that type of mentality. God is not going to accept us with that type of mentality. God not going to accept us with that mentality, man. Because the way we think, it shows in our... No, I ain't say cut it off. No. The way we think, it shows in our actions. I said the way we think shows in our actions. If I disagree with God or if I disagree with the law, it's going to show in my features, in my countenance, in my actions. Every time you spit a law that a person disagrees, the person frowns and he get angry with the speaker. But these are not my laws. These are God's laws. These are the created laws. So you got a problem with God. I'm only spitting it. I'm only speaking the word of God. Okay? Go ahead, read. When a man has taken a wife and married her,
and it had come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes.
And it come to pass that she finds no favor in his eyes. Okay. Now, you know what the word for favor is? No grace, no kindness. Favor means approval, support, or liking for. Okay? So when your man approves of you, he expresses a favorable statement about you. You don't allow him to speak things contrary or against you. Unfavorable. See, women today was taught how to be wives. When God said for a man to take a wife, he had to teach her law. He had to teach her nothing. Because she's coming from a father's house that taught law, that stood on law. When he says to, we don't get into that. I'm going to dip in. I'm going to go past my, go ahead, time sheet.
And it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes.
Right.
Because he had found some uncleanness in her. Then let him write her a bill of divorcement.
Let him write her a bill of divorcement. Sefer Kitty 2. Sefer Kitty 2 is a book or a letter of cutting off. Okay. Tom sheet.
And give it in her hand.
He give it in her hand.
And send her out of his house.
And send her out of his house.
Verse 2. And when she...
But I ain't never read where a man had to divorce his wife.
That's true. That's right. That's true.
They didn't have to. You know why? Because the woman completely 100% submitted to their husbands. they have allowed their husbands to rule. The first command that God gave Eve, God told Eve, he said, allow your husband to rule you. He ain't say it like that. But if the woman don't allow her husband to rule, he ain't gonna rule. He ain't gonna rule. She have to submit to that. That's right. Now, rule how? Not by tyranny and righteousness, but you rule by how? In righteous lifestyle. Turn it down. Yeah, turn this. He said, rule how? Rule means what? By commanding accepted principles or instructions according to the laws of God. That states the way things are or should be done, and tells you what you are allowed or are not allowed to do according to the laws of God. So that's what the ruling is about. I show you with the book, with the laws, what is acceptable by God and what isn't acceptable by God. Close that window, sir. Somebody. What is acceptable by God and what isn't acceptable by God. All that time the window goes. Yeah, that's crazy. What is acceptable by God or what isn't acceptable by God? And it behooves you to accept that. Because when we don't accept what God accepts, then we become contrary. We become opposite. And when we become contrary to God, then God becomes contrary to us.
That's right. That's how it goes.
God begins to turn his back on us.
The cycle.
God begins to push you away because you're pushing God away. You're not accepted. So in order for the husband to rule, the woman has to submit herself, meaning accept or yield to the will of the one who is in charge. Somebody got to be in charge. Somebody. Go ahead, read.
And when she is departed out of his house,
she
may go and be another man's wife.
Now, it said he found some what? Go back. He said he found.
And it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes.
He says, go ahead.
Because he had found some uncleanness.
In her. So when I looked up that word uncleanness, in the Hebrew it says edwat dabar. You know what edwat dabar? It's according to what that man. It's according to what that man sees fit or what he doesn't like. And what dabar means a shameful thing. So when you do things that shames him, grounds for divorce, a shameful thing, a shameful matter, or shameful words. Another definition for edwat dabar is indecency. Indecency means not conforming to what is accepted standards of behavior or propriety. So there is a certain way that a woman should behave. There's a certain way that a man should behave. Not just the woman. We all have certain ways and certain standards that we need to live up to according to the laws and the commandments of God. When we don't live up to these standards and these customs and the behavior patterns of our forefathers, then God frowns at us. I said God frowns at us. Why? Because we're not living up to the standards that God expects from us. Okay? There are standards that God has expected from us. Okay? Now, the other definition is improper behavior, unseemly thing, right? Propriety is accepted standards of behavior or morals, socially acceptable in speech. So an unseemly thing means inappropriate, not in keeping with what is correct or proper, unfit. Tom sheet.
Then let him write her a bill of divorce. Give it in her hand.
Send her out of his house.
And when she is departed out of his house, she may go.
But today now, the tables has switched. The majority of the women today have their own, and the men are moving in with the woman.
Yes, sir.
So now the men have to write the bill of divorce, and he got to pack his clothes and leave. Everything is backwards.
She finna write it to him.
Everything is backwards. Come see.
And if the latter husband hate her,
now she done got married again. Now if the latter husband hate her, read,
and write her a bill of divorce.
And write her a bill of divorce.
Give it in her hand.
Give it in her hand.
Send her out of his house.
Send her out of his house.
Or if the latter husband died, which took her to be his wife, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. After that, she is defiled.
After that, she's defiled. Because another man done went in her. She done took on another foreign substance. See, once another man go into a woman that wasn't her first husband, it's foreign. It's foreign to her body. Why? Because her body has adjusted to her first husband, You don't read about divorce cases, man. You don't read about no divorce case in here. Once a woman cohabitate with a man, her intentions is not to leave that man. That's the reason why when Tamar got raped by her brother Amnon, why? Why did Amnon rape his sister? Because God has stirred up trouble within his house. Amnon didn't start desiring his sister until God stirred up the trouble in his house. Absalom didn't start chasing his father until God stirred up trouble in his house. All because of what King David did to Uriah the Hittite. So God stirred up trouble within his house. But the thing that stood out was when God sent Nathan the prophet to tell King David, he said, don't worry. He said, your iniquity has been erased. Erased. That means something. I said, that means something. When we sin and we violate the commandments of God, if we don't make the necessary corrections in our life to amend for those iniquities, then those iniquities is above our heads.
That's right. Riding.
It's riding us.
It's riding.
I said it's riding us.
Right.
And these things, those are the things that causes a breach and an opening in our spirit, which allow iniquity to come to the doors of your mind.
Weird action.
But God told us that we can rule it. I don't have to give in to those evil, atrocious thoughts that comes to my mind that is against God.
Right.
I said, God said I can rule it.
Right.
Don't give in to the things that is unlawful and ungodly according to what God says. We know right from wrong.
That's right.
We have good and evil in us. The very same day that Adam ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, I said we have good and evil in us. We weaken ourselves by sinning presumptuously. God has equipped us to fight them demons. You call them demons? God has equipped man to fight the demons that we have in us. Each and every one of us have demon in us. Demons. You know what's the demons? The evil that you have in you. The corruption that we have in us. God has equipped us to fight these things. Right. But we weaken ourselves by sinning presumptuously. Presumptuous iniquity, we weaken ourselves. Tom Sheep.
Verse 4. Her former husband was sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. After that, she is defiled.
After that, she's defiled.
But that is abomination before the Lord.
That is an abomination before God.
And thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance.
Tom Sheep.
When a man had taken a new wife,
When a man has taken a new wife,
he shall not go out to war.
He shall not go out to war.
Neither shall he be charged with any business.
Neither shall he be charged with any business.
But he shall be free
at home
1 year.
For 1 year.
And shall cheer up
his wife.
Which he had taken.
Cheer up his wife. I don't have to teach her nothing. Because when you married her, she came equipped. The wife came equipped and ready to be a wife. The husband married this woman, and he's ready and he's already equipped to be a husband. This is why when a man didn't have it to marry a woman, he would subject himself to servitude. God said, 6 years, this Hebrew servant shall serve you. At the 7th year, God said, let him go. And you furnish liberally out of your flock. So now he is able to fend for himself. I can have my own land. I can have my own tent. I can provide for myself. Now I'm able to look for a wife. We do things backwards. We're a backwards people. Tom Sheet.
Verse 6. No man shall take the nether or the upper millstone to pledge.
No man shall take the nether or the upper millstone to pledge. So the millstone in the Hebrew, the nether is rekayim. It's a hand mill, a mill for grinding. The millstone was 2 stones, the nether and the upper, turned by hands. So you had 2 stones and it was turned. It's a grinder. It grinds the wheat. This is how you grind your wheat. This is how you grind your corn. This is how you grind whatever you needed to grind. And then you will weigh it out and sell it. That was your means of business. That was your main way of making money. You got your millstone? Oh, you can make some money. You ain't broke. You ain't broke. Tom Sheet.
For he taketh a man's life to pledge.
Taketh a man's life to pledge.
Verse 7.
Now, a pledge. Notice that anytime you borrowed, they gave a pledge. You didn't borrow from nobody and don't give them something in return to hold.
That's right.
That's right. That's collateral. You give them something to hold to assure them that I'm going to pay them back. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 7. If a man be found stealing any of his brethren,
if a man be found stealing of any of his brethren,
of the children of Israel, make it merchandise of him, or sell it, then that thief shall die. Thou shalt put evil away from among you.
That's kidnapped. You know what that is? To be kidnapped and taken away from your nativity. You ain't finding them. That's why God said, when a person do certain things, certain violations in this book, it calls for death. It calls for death. Tom Sheet.
Take heed in the plague of leprosy, that thou observe diligently.
Take heed in the plague of leprosy. Now, we had different forms of leprosy. Leprosy is a chronic infection or disease caused by a type of bacteria, mycobacterium. It affects the skin, peripheral nerves. Left untreated, it can cause disability, limbs, nose, and upper respiratory tract. Leprosy was no joke. Different stages of leprosy, it started consuming and eating away on your limbs. Breaks you down, Tom Sheet.
And do according to all that the priest, the Levite, shall teach you, as I commanded them, so ye shall observe to do. Remember what the Lord thy God did unto Miriam.
Lord thy God did unto Miriam.
After that, he will come forth out of Egypt.
What did God do to Miriam? And why did God do it? So Moses and Aaron, Aaron and Miriam, who was Moses' brothers and sisters, they start talking against Moses. But Moses had so much juice with God. Moses was held such on a high level with God that if you spoke about Moses, God would come out and start, he defends. You bring God out. Like you offend God. So the Most High came out in the cloud. His glory was inside of a thick cloud, and it covered the entrance of the tabernacle. And he called for Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. He said, "You three, come on out." You see how close these people was with God? They heard the voice of God, man. These people know how God sounds. You see how close these people is? Ain't nobody hearing the voice of God today. God ain't speaking to nobody today. That should tell you the distance from us to God, from these people to God. This is why I always say we can't talk bad about nobody in this book. The wickedest person in this book was closer to God than the person today.
That's right.
The evil and wickedest person in this book was closer to God than the people. Ahab was more closer to God than anybody today.
That's correct.
And Ahab allowed his wife to rule a whole kingdom, rule the whole nation. But even he knew when to humble himself before God. See, when we decide to humble ourselves with God, it calls for humility. And you're not loud, you're not boisterous. There's a certain way, a certain manner that we need to go when we're humbling ourselves with God. Tom Sheik, go ahead, read.
When thou dost lend thy brother anything, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge.
He said, when you lend your brother anything, he said, what?
Thou shalt not go into his house.
Don't go in his house
his pledge.
To fetch his pledge. Read.
Thou shalt stand abroad, and the man to whom thou dost lend shall bring out the pledge abroad unto thee. And if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep with his pledge.
And if the man be poor, he said, thou shalt not sleep with his pledge. Okay, go ahead.
In any case, thou shalt deliver him the pledge again.
Deliver him the pledge again.
When the sun goeth down.
When the sun goeth down.
That he may sleep in his own raiment.
You know what that means, man? That means at this point in time, I have to disregard that he owes me. And the laws of God takes place. I have to return this man his pledge without him paying me back. Why? Because God said what?
When the sun goeth down.
When the sun goes down.
That he may sleep in his own
raiment.
That
he may sleep in his own raiment. And bless thee.
Bless.
And this shall be righteousness unto thee before God. Those are acts. God has showed us the actions and the acts of righteousness, which means we cannot continue to be selfish. A selfish mindset can't fulfill these laws. If you or if a person is selfish, he's not returning no pledge. Why? Because he's going to tell himself that he didn't even pay me back. He didn't pay me back. So why should I return something this dude didn't even pay me back what he owed me? See, we got to disregard our own feelings. We have to disregard ourselves for the sake of fulfilling the commandments and the laws of God. Tom Sheik.
Verse 14. Thou shalt not oppress a hired servant that is poor and needy.
Thou shalt not oppress a hired servant that is poor and needy.
Whether he be of thy brethren.
Whether he be of thy brethren.
Or of thy strangers that are in thy land.
So now God is going to explain to us what is the oppression. What does it mean how do you oppress a hired servant? He said, at his day, thou shalt what?
At his day, thou shalt give him his hire.
Give him his hire.
Neither shall the sun go down upon him. For he is poor, and setteth his heart upon him, lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be sin unto thee.
So, if you have a business, you have to pay that person at the end of the day. If you don't pay that person at the end of the day, then guess what? God look at you and say, you have oppressed
You're
your
unjust.
hired servant.
You're unjust.
We cannot continue to go by the rules of the government.
That's right.
I'm not going by. If I have a business, I'm paying you at the end of the day.
That's
You
right.
know why? Because I don't know how God is going to look at me if I hold this man's pay at the end of the week, or if I hold this man's pay and pay him every 2 weeks. Are we sure? We're not sure if we are angering God by doing this. And this is why we cannot take chances. I don't take chances.
That's right.
Once God said he's against it, I ain't doing it.
That's right.
I don't care where I'm at. I don't care what government system I'm under.
That's right.
I don't care about none of that. I'm not going to run a business and pay you weekly or bi-weekly. Why? Because my God disagrees with it. And we serve a God that don't change. So if we serve a God that don't change, if I pay you at the end of the week, God is going to frown at me for paying you at the end of the week. If I pay you every 2 weeks, then God is going to frown at me. It's going to be sin imputed upon me.
It says it right
Because I have decided to do my own wanting will. I have decided to do what I wanted to do. See, when we do things of our own will, then it's not accepted. We can't be accepted doing these laws our own way. The only way God can accept us, we must fulfill these laws according to the way God said it in the book.
That's right.
If he said don't shave, well, goddamn, don't shave.
That's right.
If he said don't cut your hair, don't cut your hair.
That's right.
Plain and simple. But we want to do our own thing, and we want God to accept us that way. Huh? Do you want your child? Are you going to accept your child the way he wants? Or are you going to tell and raise this child the way he needs to be raised and tell him this is how you're going to do? Now, I will accept you this way. Until you get grown. I will raise you and nourish you until you become a grown man. But as long as you live in my house, you are binded by these laws, commandments, and statutes, and you're going to live this. This is when we see what the child chooses. When the child gets older and he's able to take care of himself.
That's right.
So we must put the job in. We must put the work in now when they're small. And hope by God that they continue to walk in the way that you showed them. Hope to God that they walk in the way that you showed them.
That's right.
Hope. Because I ain't showed you nothing else. I ain't taught you nothing else. I break my back every Friday to come get you. Just so that you don't experience anything other than what you're supposed to be doing on Friday night and during the seventh day. So that when you get older, I can tell you, I didn't raise you that way.
Right.
I didn't show you this.
Right.
I didn't teach you this.
Right.
You are doing this of your own will, and God is going to visit you according to your own iniquities. Your own iniquities, God will visit it upon your own head.
Yeah.
Because I didn't show you none of that. I didn't teach you this. I didn't feed you this.
Right.
And that's how God feels.
That's right.
The same way. How a parent deals with their children is how God is dealing with the nation. We looked at the nations round about us and we took on their ways. We took on their customs. We took on their traditions. And we want God to accept us. Ain't that something else? Huh? That's a bad motorcycle. Huh? We want God to accept us the way we want to be.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Let's read.
Verse 16. The fathers shall not be put to death for the children.
The father shall not be put to death for the children. So what's this I'm hearing? That he gave his only begotten son. For what? To die for the whole world.
Fabricated.
What's this?
Fabricated.
Then they come up with a 3 and 1. 3 can't fit into 1. That's mathematically impossible. How in the world is 3 gonna fit into 1? But notice and realize that every nation got a 3 and 1. Every nation had a JC.
That's right. And a triad.
And the triad. And it all stems from sun worship.
Right.
See, at the ground, at the Tower of Babel, who was orchestrated and ran by Nimrod, who profaned himself, defiled himself, right?
Take time.
They was building a building, and God confused their language. The Tower of Babel.
Tower of Babel.
Babel meaning confusion. God confused their language to where they couldn't continue to build this tower, and each and every one of them scattered. When they left, they took sun worship with them. That's why every religion, their basis is sun worship. Indians,
Sun worship.
the Europeans, they all stems from sun worship. Christianity, sun worship. Muslim, sun worship. Tamshi.
Neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers.
Neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers.
Every man shall be put to death for
Every
his
man
own
shall
sin.
be put to death for his own sin.
There you go.
God is fair. God is just. Why in the world would God charge you for what this person did?
Yeah.
Why would God kill this one for what this one did? Every man, let alone the whole world, every man gonna be put to death for his own iniquities.
Yeah.
That's fair. And if I'm just and I'm pursuing righteousness, I'm not gonna allow you to pay for what I did.
That's right.
I'm gonna step up and say, nah, he didn't do it. He ain't got nothing to do with it. I did it. It's me. It's my fault.
That's right.
Ain't that what David did?
Yeah.
Ain't that what the king did? He turned to God. He said, oh, Lord God. He said, what did these flocks do? He said, punish me in my father's house, but not the flocks. It's my fault. I did it. But God moved King David to number the people because he was angry with the nation. Huh?
How fair he is.
I said, God moved David to number the people because he was angry with the nation.
That's how fair he is. Blessed be his holy name.
So, the same God then is the same God now, man.
Right.
God will move the head to do something to get at. Look, we dealing with a real terrible God.
Yeah, Baruch Shemo, man.
We're dealing with a terrible God, and at the same time, He's merciful.
Baruch Elohim.
I said we're dealing with a terrible God, and at the same time, He's compassionate. We're dealing with a terrible God, and at the same time, He's long suffering.
Yeah.
Because God will chastise you in His mercy.
That's right.
While He's chastising you, He has mercy while He's chastising you.
That's right.
It's the only God that I read about where He'll chastise you. He said, and I will cry in secret places when this happened to you, when that happened to you.
When I do it to you.
When I do it to you, I'm gonna sit back and cry.
I don't like it.
God didn't want to do this to us. You think God wanted to kick us out the land? Huh? You think God wanted to kick us out of this land?
No.
God don't delight in the death of the
They ain't made a movie about the transatlantic slave trade yet. And then you got Israelites that want to blame the white man.
Yeah.
No, blame yourself.
Blame yourself.
God has allowed the white man to do this to us because of our iniquities. God has delivered us into the hands of these people, hoping that we acknowledge our faults, hoping that we acknowledge our iniquities and our faults and make it right with God.
That's right. See.
When we started following the nations, we migrated into Africa, took on Hamitic nations. We became Africans.
Yeah.
When we left Africa, we had a Hamitic mindset already. We was Africans with tribal marks and earlobes stretched out.
You see it today, dashikis.
Stop wearing these damn dashikis. The dashikis. They have African prints.
Speak on it, Sean.
Okay? The African prints that's on these dashikis are symbols.
Speak on it, Chief.
But we don't study, and we don't study these prints. We just pick up an African printed material and make a garment out of it talking about shalom. Not knowing what's the symbol and the prints on these materials.
That's right. Why it's called African print. It's a reason.
Some prints represents water. Some prints represent fire.
Okay.
Some prints represent sun. Some prints represent suns. Some prints represents Nefer. The Nefer. I ain't gonna say the whole name because she's a deity too. Titi.
Egyptian.
Horus. Most of those prints represents their gods.
That's right.
And all we do is jump into it. Talking about shalom, not knowing that we are an abomination before God.
That's right.
We are wearing abominable things.
Fashion. You talk about it, brother.
Tom C.
Verse 17. Thou shalt not pervert the judgment of the stranger.
Thou shalt not pervert the what?
Judgment of the
judgment of the stranger. To pervert means to change the judgment of the stranger. And God is a just God.
That's right.
So if the stranger is being done wrong, then justice needs to be served.
Perverted.
But we pervert the judgment because he's a stranger.
That's right.
That's why.
That's right. That's why I said don't pervert it, man. Just hit it on the head, Chief.
The stranger was counted amongst the homeborn.
Hit on the head.
The stranger must be treated like the homeborn.
Hit on the head.
Whether he's yellow, pink, white,
or blue.
Or blue.
Yeah.
Because God don't look at and don't frown at your complexion.
That's right.
We serve a God that hates iniquity.
That's right.
I said we serve a God that hates iniquity.
Not color. Not color.
Not color. Job was a Babylonian, but he eschewed evil.
That's
and God
right.
exalted him in the heavens and talked big about him.
Ew. That's right.
Abraham come out the land of the Chaldeans, a Babylonian. And God looked at him and called him my friend. He said, Abraham is my friend. When you look it up in the Hebrew, it says my beloved one. He said, my beloved. You know what that is? The type of status Abraham had with God, for God to look at him and say, you are my beloved. God loved him. You know why? Because he was the only man that God didn't have to show an example.
That's right.
All God did had to speak.
Blind allegiance.
He had to explain nothing.
That's right.
He just followed.
That's right.
God said this, and this. God didn't have to explain himself.
That's right.
Sometimes the head, the leader, don't want to have to explain. Just do what I tell you to do. Why we wear the cord of blue on there? I don't know why we had the cord of blue on the fringes. God didn't explain why we had the cord of blue on the fringes. And I'm not going to be so presumptuous to ask God, Why and what is the purpose of the coat of blue?
That's right. Speak on it.
God said, wear it, I'm just going to wear it.
That's right.
God said, don't do it, I'm just not going to do it.
That's right.
God said, don't say this, I'm not going to say it.
That's right.
That's it. But we always look for an explanation. Come, can you tell me why? I'm going to show you why. Give me the ram's horn. Bow! Bust you right over your head.
Stubbornness.
Bust you right over your head.
Highly stubborn.
We're stubborn, man. We are stubborn people.
You
know what? You know what that tell me? You're not the one.
Uh-oh. Say it again, bro.
I said you are not the one. You know how you can tell you the one? You don't ask too many questions. All it takes for you to do is read it. And when I read it, I'm going to do exactly what it says in the book, word for word. It don't take much. Whatever I read, I make myself and train myself to believe it.
That's right.
This is what we need to do. We read the book and make yourself believe that this mountain, at one point in time, God has came down on this mountain and incinerated the whole mountain range.
That's how Abby taught us.
I said, make yourself believe it. I said, make yourself believe it. Without proof. That's called blind allegiance.
Yeah, blind allegiance.
I said, that's called blind allegiance. I must believe everything in this book to be lawful and right, so that I can be accepted by God like Abraham. The ways and the customs of our forefathers is in the book. The ways and the customs of our mothers is in the book. And the things that they did to draw God's attention towards them. It ain't hard, man. You are just unyielding. You won't yield. You won't yield to the standards of God.
That's right.
You're too stubborn.
That's right.
You have too much pride in you. A lot of vanity. Vanity and pride. You got to ask God to remove those things from you.
Pride,
because these are the things that blocks you and separate you from God.
Pride separates from God. That's right.
You know what? You know what? You know what breaks your pride? You know what breaks your vanity? Huh? Let me see you put on the frontlet and wear it. Knowing that people is looking at you. Knowing that you're the only one that wears a frontlet. And you don't feel no way. Why? Because your spirit gonna reject it. Your spirit gonna reject it. Because this is not what people wear.
That's right.
And I look weird with an amulet in between my eyes.
That's right. Talk about it, brother.
But those are the things that strengthens your courage and makes you courageous and strengthen you.
That's right.
And you will overcome that fear. Then your spirit becomes accustomed to it. And now I don't go outside without my phone because I feel weird.
Now I got a different
See,
spirit.
God give a
now
care about what you think about me.
Now I got a different spirit.
I'm doing the laws of God. Now my spirit is getting is adapted. It's adapted.
Now I got a different spirit.
It's adapted.
Yeah. Talk about it, bro.
Let's read.
Verse 17.
Deuteronomy 24, verse 17.
Thou shalt not pervert the judgment of the stranger.
Thou shalt not pervert the judgment of the stranger. Don't allow the stranger to feel like the outer man, the outer ball. Stop allowing people to feel like the outer ball.
That's right.
Stop allowing people to feel like, you know what, I'm not accepted here. They don't like me here. I don't want to be here. We think it's a game. Why, when people come to the camp, we allow this person or that person to feel like the sore thumb out?
That's right.
And then when the person don't come back, you got a whole bunch of negative things to say about the person. But you ran them away. You ran the person away by your treatment and how you treat the person, how you treated the sister. That's not godly. That's what we need to ask ourselves. Is that godly? Is it righteous?
No, it's not.
Am I right?
No, you're not.
Should I allow this person to feel this way? Talking about I'm God's people, but I don't know how to treat the person and act. Your act and the way you act. You gotta act a certain way, man.
That's right.
You can't act in a way to where people look at you and say, why are you acting like that? Nah, I'm not coming back there. I don't like the way he act.
It plays a big part.
It plays a big part, man. We can't be that way, man. Talking about we God's people. No, man. Listen, do you know we can do things that cause God to frown on you?
That's right.
Guess what? It is not in the book.
I just didn't like what you did.
It's nowhere in the law. But there are things that we can do in life that God will frown at you for. And he'll push you away. I don't have to violate, but I didn't violate the law. It ain't got to be in the law. You just did something that God don't like.
My ways plays a big part.
I said, you just did something that God don't like. We think it's a game, man.
He said the thing displeased the Lord.
It wasn't right.
It wasn't even in the law.
It wasn't even in the law. You just displeased God. And God looked at it and said it was evil. Taking this thing here for a joke, man. Taking this for a joke. Let's read.
Nor of the fatherless. Nor take a widow's raiment
Nor
to
the
pledge.
fatherless. You know that word fatherless don't mean fatherless. You know what yatum means? Unprotected. Which means your father ain't gotta die for you to be unprotected.
That's correct.
Your father ain't around. I fall under the yatum. I fall under the fatherless because my father's not around to look out for me.
Right.
You may be here, he may be there.
That's right, brother.
Time sheet.
Nor take away a widow's raiment to pledge.
Nor take a widow's raiment to pledge. Don't take nothing from the widow. The widow, she done lost her husband. And she don't have her husband to provide for her. So if she needs something, just give it to her.
Don't lend it.
Don't take no pledge. Leave the widow with her with whatever she has.
She's exempt.
She's exempt from that. God make exceptions. I said God has made exceptions for certain people
That's right.
according to the position that they're in. Tom Sheep.
But thou shalt remember that thou was a bondman in Egypt. And the Lord thy God redeemed thee thence. Therefore I command thee.
Go to Numbers 12. He said, and thou what? And thou shalt go to Numbers 12. And thou shalt remember. I'm going to hit a few spots in Numbers 12 and then come down. He said, and thou shalt remember. Hear what God said? Don't forget that you was a slave in the land of Egypt. Therefore, I command you to do this thing. Therefore, I command you not to treat this stranger like that. Watch how you treat them, because you should know the treatment of a stranger, because you was a stranger in Egypt. And you cried out because of the treatment. And now we turn around and start ill-treating the stranger, forgetting of what we went through when we was in Egypt. Time sheet. Numbers 12.
Chapter 12. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses. Because of the Ethiopian woman.
Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because he done married an Ethiopian woman. It ain't your business. That's what God said. What God ain't said that verbally, but the actions and what happened and what took place spoke louder than those words. It wasn't Aaron and Miriam business to speak concerning who he married for a wife. It wasn't their business. They must have thought they was on the same level. You ain't hear what they said? He said, you think God only spoke by you, Moses? And when they said that, God popped out. Wait a minute. Who are you talking to?
Who you talking to?
Who you talking to?
Whoa.
Let's go. Let's go.
Well, he had married an Ethiopian
He
woman.
said because he married an Ethiopian woman.
Verse 2, and they said,
Uh-huh.
Has the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Hath he not spoken also by
Well,
us?
God ain't only spoke by Moses, he spoke by us too. They think they're on the same level with Moses. Students think they're on the same level with their teachers.
Yes, I do.
I would never be on the same level with my father. I ain't experienced half what my father experienced. And I would never push my chest out to say I'm never on the same level with my pops. The things that man saw, God ain't shown me.
That's right.
I said the things my father saw, God didn't show me.
We living off of what God
I'm
showed
living
our
off
Father.
his righteousness.
Yeah.
I'm living off my father's righteousness.
Yeah.
And why God didn't destroy me and cast me and hang me off the light pole,
My Father's righteousness.
it's because of my father's righteousness, because I'm well deserving of it.
That's right. That's right.
And I have done things that warrants death.
I have sinned.
And I ain't happy about it.
Yeah. Speak on it, bro.
Sometimes you read and you read and you read and you get in an emotional state and start thinking back on all the things you did, and then you start to question, God, am I forgiven for these things? Is God still going to charge me for this?
Oh yeah. That's a fact.
We think it's a game.
Oh yeah.
Don't think. Listen, man.
Yeah, that's a fact. You will be
And this is the mentality of the godly, or the ones that have the mindset of making amends with themselves with God. Do not put yourself off the hook. You ain't off the hook. You're never off the hook, people. Everything that you've done in your past,
You ain't even start paying for it yet.
look, man, I said everything that you've done in your
You ain't even
past
start paying for it yet.
that we have done against God, these are the things that we must remember.
That's right.
Remember, look what God said. Remember where you came from.
That's right.
I said, remember your past, meaning remember where you came from.
That's right.
Remember what you did in the past. So if you remember what you did in your past, you need to stand down and stop talking so big.
That's right.
Because you ain't nothing.
That's right.
Remember what you did. Remember what you came from.
That's right.
This is why there's nothing to boast about, man.
Oh, I don't live that way no more.
No, I still holding.
What you
Listen,
think? You ain't gonna pay for it? You got an answer to it.
let's read.
Hath he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it.
And the Lord heard it. Let's hear what God did.
Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men.
Now the man Moses was very meek. See, this is why we need to choose our words wisely. Because you can say things to offend a person that God thinks very highly of.
That's right.
They was not on the same level with Moses, man.
That's right.
Was not. Now meek, he said Moses was a meek man. So let's get into that word meek. Meek means what? Humble. Meek also means to submit yourself to the will of God, enduring with patience and without resentment. Enduring with patience and without resentment. To humble means not proud or haughty, not arrogant or assertive, having a low estimate of one's own importance. Tom Sheep.
And the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and unto Miriam, Come out ye three.
Come out, ye three.
Unto the tabernacle.
Unto the tabernacle of the congregation.
And they three came out.
Let's hear what God said.
The Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud.
And the Lord God came down in a pillar of clouds.
Uh-oh.
The glory of God is inside the cloud.
Yep.
The cloud came down in front of the tabernacle. And you got Moses, Aaron, and Miriam standing before God, hearing the voice of God. Go ahead.
And
Speaking out of this cloud.
And stood in the door of the tabernacle. And called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, hear now my words.
He said, hear now my words.
If there be a prophet among you.
If there be a prophet among you.
I, the Lord, will make
myself known unto him
in a vision. And will speak unto him
in dreams.
My servant Moses is not
he said, but Moses, I don't deal with Moses this way. I don't rock with Moses this way.
Who is faithful in all mine house.
He's most faithful in all my house. Established, steadfast. Faithful meaning allegiance to duty or person. Abraham was faithful to his father. And God saw the faithfulness in Abraham, which allowed God to show himself to Abraham because he had faithfulness in him. How in the world are you going to be faithful to God and you ain't faithful to what's before your face? I got to have some type of faithfulness before my father in order for God to see, well, wow, if he's faithful to his father, he could be faithful to me. Right. If I'm faithful to my mother, he can be faithful to me. Tom Sheet.
With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently.
The other definition of faithfulness is firm belief in God with no proof. With no proof. Tom Sheet.
With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of the Lord shall he behold.
And the similitude of the who?
Of the Lord
of
shall
the Lord
he behold.
Shall he behold. Oh man. He said, read that verse on, verse 8.
With him will I speak mouth to mouth.
With him will I speak mouth to mouth.
Even apparently.
Not visions.
And not
dreams. Not in dark speeches. But I spoke to this man face to face. Straight up.
And the similitude of the Lord shall he behold.
And the similitude of God he beheld. When God took Moses and put him in the cleft of the rock. And he covered him. And removed his hand and showed him his back parts. He said, because no man can see my face and live. Go ahead.
Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow.
Miriam became leprous, like white as snow.
And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord.
Alas, my Lord.
I beseech thee.
I beseech thee.
Lay not the sin upon us.
Lay not the sin upon us.
Wherein we have done foolishly.
Wherein we have done foolishly.
And wherein we have sinned.
And wherein we have sinned.
Let her not be as one dead.
Let her not be as one dead.
Of whom the flesh is half consumed.
Of whom the flesh is half consumed.
When he cometh out of his mother's womb.
He cometh. Go ahead.
And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, Heal her now, O God, I beseech thee.
He went to God. He said, Heal her now, O God, I beseech thee. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, If her father had but spit on her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days. And after that, let her be received in again. Miriam was shut out from the camp 7 days. And the people journeyed not until Miriam was brought in again.
And with that, I hope I got what was brought. And I'm going to say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Do we have any questions? If we don't have any questions, then we'll be closing Shabbat tomorrow at 11 o'clock. We will resume Shabbat services tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Any questions? Any questions? $11 tomorrow.